And I think that's what happens, and why internet radio is growing and growing, as I know you know better than I do. But because this is a way that we connect to one another in this multidimensional way.
Well, one of the things that I know that everyone out there, because a lot of people are going to go, quantum thinking, oh, okay, so before you get that face on, listeners, just think about something. One of the things that you mentioned, Dianne, that you do is you search, you ask questions, you get to know who is there. So if someone walks up to your table to get a book signed, it's not like you're touching them and this light flashes up and you know their whole history. It's from the questions that you ask them or the conversation that you have with them that allows you to tune into who they are and the choice that you want to tune into who they are. So you kind of leave self behind and you go out as servant to find out what other people are doing. And to me, that's a lost art. People don't have manners anymore. They don't care. They seem to be, well, just to use the news as an experience this week, they seem to be all Donald Trump on everybody. And I'm not saying Donald's wrong in his speak, but it just probably shouldn't be said on television, that's all. So
or the way he presents it.
Right.
Maybe he could finesse it a little bit more.
Right. And I don't know to be a scholar myself, but the fact of it is, if you just have some manners and talk to people, you'd be surprised the difference in your life. And you know, I just turned 59, and 6 years ago I started listening more and responding better. I haven't gotten close to mastering it yet, but the fact of the matter is I feel better because of it. It was just a choice, and it wasn't easy, but it's a choice.
But that choice that you're talking about is very important, the choice to master ourselves. And, you know, I love that you tuned in when you gave my introduction. Thank you for that. And for recommending Do You QuantumThink. Of course, you write a book, you want everyone to read it, right? You have a book, you want people to read it. That's why you write it. That's why it comes through you. But when you say, you know, what does it mean to master your mind, it's not mind control. What I discovered is that I call it the myth of choice, though we have an opportunity, Tony, in every moment to choose our thought, to choose a context or an intent that we want to live from. For the most part, and this is a cultural thing, this is not personal to any one of us. So it's like, you know, everybody can go, whew, you know, not that we shouldn't be responsible for our actions or what we say and do, but that we have been under an influence. What I discovered is that our thinking takes place, it becomes habitual according to the beliefs, ideas, notions, assumptions of what's called the worldview, the prevailing worldview. Now, it's very simple, what we believe to be true about the nature of reality and how it works. So we were brought up we've been under the influence of an industrial age worldview, where everything was analysis, divide things up into parts, a step-by-step, the how-to approach to life, which is still extremely valuable, gave rise to machines. Of course, so much genius in it. But now we're at a time, we're in a quantum age. I say it like this. We're in a quantum age using industrial age thinking. And so this is where we become limited within ourselves because part of the industrial age influence, without any of us realizing it, is that it's called the mechanical age in science, classical mechanical worldview. It means in many ways when you apply this to human thinking, because my work is not about science, it's about how the discoveries of science shape the way we think and how we can use the new discoveries to expand ourselves. So I want to get back to what you were saying about choice, but just to give this little background on it. So when you realize that, not to insult anyone, but in many ways we became mechanical and automatic too in our habits of thinking. in our habits of how we relate to ourselves, in our habits of how we relate in the world. Now, I have a name for these to label it so we can distance ourselves from it. These automatic thoughts that we're not actually choosing consciously. And those are called, this is not about the subconscious. This is just about thoughts that I call visiting. Make a distinction between a thought that visits into your mind space and a thought that you're actually choosing to initiate. So I call those automatic thoughts least action, a hyphenated word, least action pathways, the least creative action, the least conscious action. And the reason, and don't give it any more meaning. And I know you like to give, your audience tips, and this is like the most freeing tip I can give you, is that when you see these automatic thoughts that you wouldn't choose, how do you know you wouldn't choose it? Because you wouldn't choose a bad thought about yourself or others or someone you love or what you're capable of or what your future holds. You would not choose a disparaging or self-negating thought. So that's how you know you didn't choose it. So I say make a distinction between a thought that just visits, let it fly by like a bird past your window, and then return to what? What do you replace that with? A choice, something that you're choosing to live from. This is quantum thinking, is getting a conscious relationship with your thoughts and with your thinking as a whole and with your own mind. So mastery of the mind is not force and control. It really has to do with conscious awareness. Why are our thoughts so important? Why is it so important? Because every mastery tradition has said, as you think, so you become. In the Bible, it reads, as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. Let's add women to that, right?
Yeah.
But and it said in the Buddhic tradition, the Buddha said, all that we are is a result of what we have thought. Now, I studied philosophy in college. Aristotle, one of the early Greek philosophers, said the same thing. Everything we are is because of what we think. So when you can start to manage and choose the new habits of thinking, then you can get to, and I think it starts with what you said, this is a full circle, but I wanted to give everyone some background on this. And a clear tip that'll free you forever. Don't make that automatic thought meaning anything. You don't have to latch onto it. You don't have to believe it. You don't have to, it's not the absolute truth. It's just a thought. You don't have to own that visiting thought in any way. You can own the thought that you initiate, that you choose. And I think what you said, Tony, is so important, is that in life, at some point, you can do it right now as we're in this conversation. Choose a life of mastery. And I wrote in Do You QuantumThink, there is in part 1, wake up, why should we quantum think? And part 2 is here are the principles, you can live the wisdom. And so, but in part 1, there's a chapter called Mastery. And it's like I say, well, when you choose consciously an intent for living a masterful life, you don't look in the circumstances for it. You look in your own choice, your own will. This is how the quantum world works. And this is how the physics of mind actually works this way. The habits that you establish become your experience, and your experience is what you emanate. And when you're emanating, happy, positive, productive thoughts, you attract that into your life. So when I say in the mastery chapter of Do You QuantumThink, what's the alternative? Mediocrity? So in life, where something is always getting created. It's either getting created consciously with the awareness that you are making those choices, or it's getting created from the default settings, from the past habits of thinking. And that's like, Tony, right? You have a cell phone. Are you going to go along, or a computer, a tablet? Are you going to have it work the way you choose to customize your settings, or are you just going to go along with whatever default settings happen to be there? And so that's how this works. And I think what you said, again, really deserves a great big yellow highlight, is you can choose a life of mastery, and what will unfold will delight you.
Well, that's a great analogy, because people like myself could understand that if you do get a computer or a phone, you're going to set it up the way that fits your needs. And I'm in your book, and chapter 7, it says mind, passport to heaven. Your mind is your life, and you're not your mind. So I'm like, okay, wait a minute, let me read that again. Your mind is your life, and you're not your mind. So as I started to read it, I understood it more, but I have a question for you. So I know that you do a lot of big corporate speaks, and you're a keynote. I mean, you're a rock star when it comes to speaking. There's people that have written some. Roy Black, a TV legal commentator, says everyone should be reading everyone should be required to read this. If they're literate human beings, they should be able to read your book. So when you come into a room of people, and you got to start asking them questions, I'm sure. And I know that I've been to life coach workshops, because this 2015 I wanted to improve Tony, and so I went there, and I was looking for the smoking mirror, the little hook. I figured there was a trick, right? When it came down to the end of the day, I was like blown away, because everything that they're doing, it's not magic. If you're willing to be honest and open, you can discover what holds you back at certain times and what makes you overachieve at other times. So do you have a process that you go through to find out where people are, or do they look at you like you have a third eye when you're talking to them?
A third eye is not bad in Eastern philosophy, The third eye, which is between the eyebrows, it's called the third eye. That is the opening to intuitional knowledge. And so what is the opening into I just had to say this and I'll answer the question. But intuitional knowledge is our connection to infinite intelligence. So when you say spirit spoke to me, where does it come from? Or you get like a flash of genius, or you're experiencing like you're passionate about something. That comes from, we're all born with gifts and a unique way of expressing what our own wisdom is to give to the world, and however that gets expressed, either, whether it's in physical products, whether it's in labor, whether it's information products. Anyway, to answer your question, I work with my husband for over 20 years. We've been married for 25 years. And so his name is Dianne Collins, and I dubbed him long ago, he is a master quantum think coach. And we do consulting more than speaking. So, obviously I do speaking, but our main business is doing consulting and coaching. And over the years, I've created teleconference programs where Quantum Think 21, where people work on a specific measurable business result while they're